Okay, good day, everybody. My name is again Adeolu Akiemi, and today I'll be continuing this conversation, this all-important conversation about money paradigms. Now, prior to now, we've talked about the number of money paradigms, and I wanted to get this off my chest this morning so that the goal for the week that I have of ensuring that these trainings are done, and we can have it recorded for those who will benefit it for years to come. So today, the paradigm I want to shift today is the one that says economics is not all true. The paradigm normally is economics is true, and what we have done with this paradigm shift is just to introduce the word not, so that people can get an idea of exactly what their mental framework needs to be able to achieve the financial goals that they want. So prior to this time, we have discussed about 4 of these paradigms that must shift. And of course, the text and the material we're working with is this book that I wrote many years ago that still proves very valuable and very good. It's a hardcover book, fully colored on the inside. It's an amazing piece of work in breaking the paradigms that people have had about their finances. And it's something I recommend that everybody who is in this class gets. But that's not essentially what today's conversation is fully about. About getting the book. But I'd like you to learn this. If you learn these principles, these paradigms, and you're able to make the shifts required, amazing things can happen for you financially. I tell people you cannot rise above the way you think about money. And many of us are not conscious about our paradigms until those paradigms are challenged. And I hope that the first 4 paradigms that we have shared about not financial security, some of the things you think are assets are not assets, about how much you earn is not what is important, about money, hard work, and savings are not it, are really sunk in very well. And it's something you're beginning to use for how you think about money. So today, I'm going to be taking the paradigm shift on economics is not all true. And I know that many of us who are in this class today possibly went to school and at some point studied economics. And economics was like it's foundational. Every society will have an outplay of economics. And our economics teachers probably taught us a few things about economics that we needed to learn and memorize in order to pass exams. Interestingly for me, I didn't do economics while I was in secondary school. I actually self-taught myself economics and went for my GCE exam before my SSE exam and did well in the exam. So I'm one of those people who didn't have the opportunity of really being guided about it. I just read the textbooks, and textbooks gave me insights. That is the same insight that you have as well about economics. And if anybody can help us this morning, anybody who is in the class today can define economics the way you remember it. So if you went to school and you did economics at any point in time, can you remember the definition of economics? I'm going to reveal what that definition is, but if anybody can try, there are gifts up for grab for as many as can define economics. So before you hear what economics is, can you remember what economics was to you? What did they teach you about economics? What exactly was the breakdown of the definition of economics? So, and why do we have the audacity to say it is not all true? Is anybody here today who studied economics? If you're in the house today and economics was a course you did, you can show and say, I did economics. If you know the definition or you can find the definition, then you can share there as well and say, this was the definition that I can remember. Okay. While all of us is going on, I'm going to progress and begin to share with you what is economics and why is it not all true. Okay. While you're trying to work out the definitions, remember our analysis. The reason why we're taking this course and we're explaining all of these paradigms is because people don't become financially free normally. Okay, statistics in society shows that the people who become free in a typical country like America, where they have good life expectancy, where they are entrepreneurial, where the bank loans are easy to collect, where things seem to be working in their favor, is only 1 in 100. So the research that was done, 54% became dependent, 16% were still working, 24% were dead, 5% became independent, and only 1 in 100 was financially free at the age of 65. So what does this mean? It means if you will ever be free, the odds are stacked. They are not in your favor. The odds are stacked slightly against you. You need to be deliberate. You need to understand and shift your paradigms so that you can set the right goals, so that you can pursue the right goals, so that you don't detour towards security. You don't detour towards what everybody gets distracted by. Your goal is focused on ensuring that you are free enough to do the things that you really have passion for. And if I can just remind you this morning. Financial freedom is a state of life where what you earn passively can take care of your living expenses, where what you earn without breaking sweat is sufficient to take care of your living expenses. What does this mean? It means I am earning enough from the investments I have made, the passive income that is coming in is more than what I spend on a monthly basis. It means now I have the ability to choose whether I want to work or not. For many of us, for as long as our income is tied directly to our survival, working is not optional. It is something that we are compelled to do because our lives and livelihoods depend on it. But being financially free is building the systems of your life in such a way that you have set up a piping system that allows the flow of resource towards you, even when you're not actively doing heavy lifting. Now, this wisdom is the wisdom that we begin to build with to evolve into a society of people who are able to really work on our passions, support other people, love them deeply, do phenomenal things, because we are not selfishly always trying to take care of ourselves. And you can't really blame somebody who is selfish, because the reason why he is selfish is because his survival depends on it. But guess what? If you have built properly and you have said, over the next 20 years of my life, 25 years of my life, I want to put the structures in place to ensure that I can become free enough to pursue my passions, free enough to pursue the real things that are important to me. Many people like to be impactful, to serve, to help, to do major good, but they are held in chains by the things that they have to do to survive. Now, these paradigms are the fundamental shifts that you need to make to begin to see things differently. And when you see them differently, you are able to behave and perform differently. Now, Helen Boumelen today helps us to define economics. It says the social science that studies the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, and it is relation to humans or as they react to the factors of production. Okay, that's a very interesting definition. If anybody wants to give a stab at it, you can give a stab at it. There's something missing in this definition. There are times that if you didn't put your definition, you will not score the full marks. And it's because it's as it relates to something. And if you can get what it relates to, then you have a full spectrum of the definition of economics. But I think let's take it further so I can show you what it is. This is what they define economics for us while we were growing up, and I'm sure you can relate with it. Since economics is science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. If you can go back into your economics class, you probably heard this definition. It says economics is science. Okay, it's a human science, a social science, which studies human behavior in relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. And then in defining key economic terms, we begin to break that down by defining it and breaking it into what are the behaviors, what are ends, what are the scarce means, and what are these so-called alternative uses. Now, if you look at this definition, it looks like, yes, but this is what economics is. Economics is the study of human behavior. When human beings begin to behave relating to the ends they want to achieve, the things that they want to produce. And a very key factor here is the fact that it's not available for all. There is a level of scarcity. And this scarcity creates a scenario where, people need to make choices. And people need to make choices because every resource has, or the resource that you use to achieve these things that you want have alternative uses. And if you look at the diagram, this very interesting diagram that you can see up front that I'm talking about using here, it defines it in very simple terms. It says the wants are unlimited. There are limited resources. It creates a concept called scarcity. And because of scarcity, I need to make choices, and choices of what to produce, of how to produce, and for whom to produce. This is economics. Now, what I want to do today is bust this paradigm of absolute belief in this concept to show you that there's another way to look at it, and that people who have succeeded financially have often been people who refuse to be bound by this concept of economics. Okay, they've refused to be bound by this division of economics. This division we all learned from secondary school. The behavior study is what happens when a man has ends and is under pressure of scarcity. Economics is the manifestation of human beings when they have things they want to achieve and there is scarcity. So I'm thinking One day, someone is going to corner up all the resource, and it's not going to be enough. So how do I behave? How do I plan? How do I live? How do I, today, Nigeria is in a bit of a scenario where our mainstay source of revenue has become has become cheaper than our cost price. So now we have a problem, and in economic terms, it will define what our scarcity, what is scarce to us, and then the things that we need to make as choices. What drives high prices is the fact that it's not enough for everybody. What drives low prices is that it's not available in abundance. So this is the economic that we learned. Why is this not all true? And what exactly are we pointing the finger to here that we're trying to attack? Now, scarcity is what creates demand and supply, and the intrigues of pricing strategies is created by scarcity. Scarcity and the ends that we want to achieve is what we have used to define our concept of economics. So in very good, clear pictorial terms, I have virtually limitless human wants. I want food, fun, travel, home, cars, jewelry, etc. But the resources that are available to everybody is limited. So limited resources of labor, land, capital, and enterprise. And so the interrelationship between these needs and these available resources is what is the foundation of economics, is what defines supply, what defines demand, is what defines pricing. Okay, correct so far. Yeah. Now, but what exactly do we want to attack here? What we want to attack here is there really scarcity? Okay, are means really scarce? And I think this is very important, because this basically attacks the foundation of the concept of human behavior, because human behavior in economics is tied to the concept of scarcity. Okay, and if we are able to look at this concept of scarcity and ask ourselves, do I have to behave? Do I have to, does my social behavior and interaction need to be driven from scarcity? Or can I escape that mindset of scarcity and look forward to something else? Can I look forward to something different? Can I operate by different rules from the understanding that things, that I don't have to operate with scarcity? Now, so it's asking, what's the issue of the world regarding scarcity? And this is what I want us to talk about very quickly today. That scarcity becomes the basis by which everything is priced, everything is demanded, everything is positioned. But is there really scarcity? Has man shown over the last few years of his existence that he is able, by some extraordinary force, convert the things that we once thought and behaved as if they were going to be the scarce elements? Have we demonstrated that they are indeed not scarce because there's something else that is able to produce a different kind of paradigm from scarcity, which is the concept of abundance? And I want to explain this in very basic terms. So once upon a time in the world's history, and let's look down the history lane, the main resource for powering engines, for powering systems, was coal. And the price of coal was high. The price of coal was valuable. People felt, wow, the coal in the world will soon finish one day. And if the coal in the world finishes, these people that control the coal that will have the power. And while coal was having that dominance and the scarcity was beginning to become obvious, somebody came with another innovation and realized that we can use, for the same thing we're using coal for, we can use crude oil. And crude oil can be refined into a phase where it can be petrol, it can be diesel, it can power engines, it can power steam engines. And guess what? The dependence on coal began to wane. What was seen as scarcity before became not scarce because it wasn't even required, because something better had been created that could serve the same whole. And it's a story of saltpeter as well. It's saltpeter, very valuable at the time as a resource for power and the rest of them. And then gradually over time, something else came to the scene. Now, what we have seen in human history is that scarcity is almost, it's almost something that we just use to control ourselves and give ourselves boundaries. That in reality, in the human mind is vast opportunity. In the human mind is the capacity to convert what used to be scarce or what used to be not necessary to a replacement of what we think is becoming scarce. Okay? So that the concept of scarcity, in the manifestation or the expression of economics as human behavior is something we need to look at deeply and ask ourselves, are means really scarce? Now, and that if you're going to be able to create wealth and create your journey towards financial freedom, one of the things you need to begin to shift is from this mindset of scarcity into a mindset of abundance. Scarcity creates certain behaviors that economics studies, and economics already gives us the paradigm that it's between the ends that I want and the scarce means. And once my behavior is driven by scarce means, I will find myself in a scarcity loop of fear, anxiety, poor choices, and negative outcomes. If I shift my gear into it is not finishing, there is enough to go around. All the houses in Lagos are not being bought. When it's time to buy my own, I will find houses to buy. All the best opportunities are not being taken. When it's time to find my own, I will find. All the beautiful ladies are not married. When it's time to find my own, I will find. Once I switch into the abundance mindset, I find a space where I'm grateful, where I have peace of mind, where I have wise choices and positive outcomes. Now, that scarcity stifles, abundance opens up opportunities. And that if I am carrying on the paradigm of scarcity into my life and into the business I want to do, I will realize that rather than expand, I will find myself shrinking. And the behavior I will manifest is the behavior that shows that I think things are scarce. So demand will not find a roof as long as we continue to improve production efficiency. Okay, so while some resources are limited and scarce, which resources we use changes. So there's really isn't scarcity. And get this concept very well. Because something is scarce doesn't mean that it will finish and I will be in a problem. Because of our creative capacities, human beings were designed by God to be creative. And because of our creativity, we can always improve our production efficiency. We can always change the things that we are using to achieve the ends that we want. We can always use resources. We can always change resources. So really, there isn't scarcity. Okay? Saltpeter, if I mention who knows saltpeter today, nobody knows saltpeter today. It was important. Okay? It was incredibly important about 200 years ago. It's not important today. Oil was a major resource in our lifetime. But today, oil is gradually entering into this phase where it's no longer very important. People are making hybrid cars. People are using electricity to power cars. There's a price war going on between the US and Saudi. There's a push war going on between Israel and the rest of the world, saying we want to relieve ourselves of oil dependency. There are other things we can use. We have depended on the resource for long enough. Human creativity is saying this scarce resource that commanded good price, we want to jump ship on it. Okay, and that's what happens. Because of human creativity, we have the capacity to push the boundaries on anything that was called scarce. So once upon a time, something is used, and another time, guess what? We can always invent something else to be used. So for as long as that is going on, there is no scarcity. The human mind has a creative ability and an abundance mentality to be able to create new value as I needed every time. So the reality that supply is virtually unlimited. Okay? Supply is unlimited. And demand is something you create in all cases, except survival elements like warmth and food and protection and covering. But this simply means that there's unlimited wealth, provided we continue to expand our production efficiency. Now, so far I am creative. So far I'm looking around and I'm saying, how can I achieve this? What can I do with this? And I'll give you a very clear example with the business that I'm involved with. So herbs today, the herbal drinks, herbal solutions, supplements are made from things that people will ordinarily have called weed. This is like sand. This is value that exists in the bushes, value that is created by nature, value that is planted by itself. And guess what? We are pricing drugs. We are pricing orthodox drugs high because of scarcity, because chloroquine is not available in America, because India is the one that has supply, because this drug is not available in this space. It creates scarcity and it creates prices. But guess what? Every time we're going around something and are using a scarcity mindset to look at it, all around us are options. All around us are creative options that if we just use our brain and tap into the resources of our minds, we can create, more. And because we can create more, there's unlimited value. And let me give you another illustration that I like very much and I like to always share. If all the gold in the world, all the diamond in the world, all the silver in the world, all the tantalite, aquamarine, all the precious metals, and all the valuable things underneath the earth were exhumed. And they were divided equally into 7 billion parts to recognize everybody who is in the world today and they wants to come in a few more years or a few more months. If we use 7 billion people to divide all the wealth that is available in the world, every human being will be a millionaire in dollars. Everybody. Now, if everybody's going to be a millionaire in dollars by dividing the world's wealth, why isn't everybody a millionaire in dollars? Everybody's not a millionaire in dollars because of this concept of scarcity we have created. Because guess what? You don't do big things thinking small. You don't keep your eyes on the ground and see way ahead. Okay, that your mentality, the paradigms with which you engage business, with which you engage life, have a telling on what you will achieve. And for as long as I believe completely in the mantra of my behavior being regimented between ends and scarce means, I will find myself in a small space, in a small place in life. That what you need to be able to break away from is realize that nothing is scarce. If this resource becomes extinct, the human creativity is able to find a new way of exercising its production efficiency and create new value. Okay, is able to create new value. So God has created us not a world of scarcity that we must fight over, but one of abundance where there's enough to spare. There is enough in the world to spare. If all the wealth in the world was divided equally among all human beings, everybody will have enough. And once I understand this concept, I go into life, I go into business, not with the mentality of fighting and competing and trying to starve anybody else. I realize that I can always create my own space. I can always make amazing things happen. The fact that somebody else has doesn't deny me of having. The fact that somebody else doesn't have is not the reason why I will have. There's enough to go around. And once I switch into this mind frame, it opens me up to see that opportunity is available for as long and as much as I want to take of it. It strips me of a desire to want to compete, but into a space where I want to cooperate, I want to create, I want to expand, because there's enough. There's a lot more to go. If you look at popular Silicon Valley today and you ask yourself, what exactly is the material, this silicon that is really used to create ICs, create value, and all the rest of them, you find out it's the sand. Okay, that sand can be made into value. Trees, herbs, weeds can be made into value. The creative human mind is able to find avenues to create, higher production efficiency and create unlimited wealth because there really is no scarcity. Once your mind adopts the language and mindset of scarcity, you find yourself driven by fear, by anxiety, make the wrong choices and get wrong outcomes. The minute you expand your mind and realize somebody's lack does not create my want, my need, my achievement. My achievement is not predicated on somebody else's loss. We can live and let live. And I have a very interesting story for that as well. So once upon a time, we had a supplier who was supplying us bitters and we were selling. And then at some point, they pulled the rugs off our feet and said, look, we don't want to sell to you anymore. But guess what? There is abundance. Abundance says, who says you can't create your own? Who says you can't, approach the same market? Who says that we will even deny him of business because we are doing business? And the abundant mindset says, you know what? I can create within the space. I can find my own niche market. I can find my own niche space. I can do a different model to how I'm doing what I'm doing. I can expand my category over a different space. There's abundance available. Okay, and it's a waste of time struggling over one space and having a list of scarcity in creating whatever value is being created. So essentially, scarcity creates competition and rivalry. Abundance inspires innovation and production efficiency. And this is what exactly you want to create. This is what you want to have. This is what you want to be your reality. Okay? Scarcity feels uncertain of survival. There's competition, there's desperation, there's mistrust, there's misery, there's hoarding, there's blame, there's death, there's war. This is what scarcity creates. Abundance, on the other hand, there's collaboration, there's confidence, there's trust, there's prosperity, there's sharing, there's responsibility, there's peace, and there's life. And this is a way to truly create wealth. This is a way to truly create financial freedom. So I want to ask you, if you're in the room today, I can see that despite our desire to have a small audience, people have joined us. If you're in the room today, I'd like to ask you, which one would you like to work with? a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset? Scarcity or abundance? Which is it going to be? Which one do you think should be the way we operate? Now, of course, theoretically, I know that we will come up with the right answer because I've shown you life and I've shown you death. I expect that you will choose life and live. But how do I choose this? How do I, make this the manifestation of how I want to live? Is by realizing, and this is something that we need to consciously do for ourselves, realizing every time you have the urge to behave, ask yourself, what's driving me? Is it scarcity driving me, or is it abundance? Am I driven by a need to, am I playing a zero-sum game? Do I feel there's only one available, and if you eat the one, there's nothing left for me to eat? Or am I realizing that if you eat the one, then it will create a challenge for me to find what else is available? Sometimes when we talk about the different races, and you talk about the blacks, and you talk about the whites, you talk about the Caucasians and the Africans, one of the things I have realized is our challenges, our lack, the things that are not available on the surface allows us to tap into what is available, allows us to enter into the abundance level to say, what else can I do? So, for example, in many of those climes, the cold is dangerously killing. And because the cold is so bad, creativity is stirred to realize I need to find something to take care of myself. I need to find home clothing. I need to create a safe haven to live. I need to do this. So we're challenged to move more into our abundance because we realize if it's not available, doesn't mean my life needs to end. It means I need to create what next to use. Okay. So I want to share with everybody here today and say, look, abundance, it's not about my relationship with scarce means, it's about abundance. And in the words of Stephen Covey, which I like very much, and I put this principle here, it's one of the key elements of maturity. Because the work creation is sustainable and aligned with fundamental maturity principles of seeking win-win, is to have an abundance mentality. So people with scarce mentality tend to see everything in terms of win-lose. There's only so much. And if someone else has it, that means there will be less for me. The more principle-centered we become, the more we develop an abundance mentality. And this abundance mentality, we are more genuinely happy for the successes, well-being and achievement, recognition and good fortune of other people. We believe their success adds to rather than distracts from our lives. So this is a very big picture thinking, that the more mature I become, the more I grow, the more I am thinking win-win. I realize that other people's successes is not my own failure. It doesn't take away from me. It actually adds to me. I'm able to make myself a part of their own story, enjoy their triumph, enjoy their glory, knowing that whatever is happening to somebody else is creating space for me to be able to think and put the factors into play as well that allows me to utilize my production efficiency. So the human creativity creates an opportunity that annihilates scarcity and says, what is not valuable today can be valuable tomorrow. What doesn't exist today can exist tomorrow. Imagine that Apple, for example, is $1 trillion company. $1 trillion company. And then you ask yourself, how do you build $1 trillion company from selling products that didn't exist 100 years ago? You have created a new category. It's the abundance nature of human beings. I'm not saying, they've taken over. Everybody, they are too big already. No, there is nothing too big already. There's nothing taken over already. Whatever it's called value today may not be value tomorrow. Someone is thinking, the big buildings, the skyscrapers. But guess what? Everybody's locked down. Everybody's going away from their skyscrapers right away. Who knows what the future of the world will be? Who knows the value of brick and mortar? Who knows what becomes valuable? And now my creativity allows me to realize, there's no scarcity out there. There's abundance out there. I just need the eyes peeled to see it. So today, that's the conversation. Economics is not all true. It's not all about economics. It's not about my behavior when I have clear ends and scarce means. It's about realizing that scarcity is really, really exists in the mind. Scarcity is a condition we are forced to technically believe in, that we begin to enjoy freedom when you realize, there's a lot more available. There's a lot more available. There's a layer that I'm not seeing. There's something I'm not seeing. And if I can see what I'm not seeing, then I can make a lot more available. Okay? There's no scarcity out there. There's abundance. Only abundance. And once I realized that, it begins to shape my thinking, it begins to shape my creativity, it begins to shape the way I look at other people and relate with them, and it begins to affect the results that I get. So that's it today, in a nutshell. There's a meeting happening this evening. I'd like to remind you